Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
June 6, 1944 was the beginning for some. It was the end for others. Known as Operation Overlord or D-Day, the Allied forces landed on the Axis-occupied beaches of Normandy, France, one of the largest invasions to go down in history.
On June 4th, we started out towards France, and the weather was so bad and the water was so rough that we turned around and went back to Southampton, where we originally were stationed.
That night we were across the channel at about 4 o'clock in the morning. They went and got us up. We boarded our landing craft out there, about 15 miles out from the shore, and we started in. Well, the water was very, very rough. The sea water came up over the sides, up over the front. We were all soaking wet in there. We were about 3 hours getting in. We were 15 miles out, and we were about 3 hours coming in. On the way in, we came past the battleship Texas. And the battleship Texas at that time was in full, they were firing full blast, you know. And when that battleship would fire salvos, the muzzle blast was almost as big as the ship itself. And when it would fire, the ship would rock back, and it was like a tidal wave, you know. Well, here we were on that little landing craft, you know, and I thought we were going to go down.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, 210 actually, my company commander, I was in his plane, and he told us to stand up, and he said first, there's 210, stand up and hook up, and then we went out the door. And I thought my life was over, because all them tracers I thought was coming at me. And then I landed between 2 trees, and I was lucky. I landed between 2 trees, and I was that far off the ground, and I was like I was on a swing. And one Maldonado was hanging in the tree, and he hollered for help him. I went over to help get him out of the tree, and then we start moving out.
We were 2 support battalions for the 4th Division that landed on Utah Beach. When I got off the LCI, off the ramp, I disappeared. I dropped out of space. Water was over my head. Now I was carrying my bazooka, 6 rounds of ammunition for it, my 60-pound pack, my rifle, and I still made it to shore with all that equipment.
We went across the channel, English Channel, went to Utah Beach. I think it was 7 trips there. Okay, 6 trips, yeah, sorry. And 3 in Omaha.
Nearly 76,000 Americans landed on Omaha and Utah beaches. 29,000 Americans lost their lives in the following days.
Well, I never thought I was going to live because of all the artillery and machine gun firing on the beach. I thought, I was prepared to die.
this is what we had been told before. This is the way the schedule that was the way it was. But that got all goofed up on account of the weather. The three rifle companies, the E, F, and G company, were supposed to land ahead of us, but they had been washed east. They didn't land anywhere near where they were supposed to. And so we came in, we landed at the right place, but nobody was there. The bombers and the heavy guns of the Navy had tried to knock out all the defenses on there, and they had missed. The bombers came over at midnight. They flew right over the target. They went inland, about 5 miles inland, and bombed the heck out of a swamp.
When we got onto the beach, F and G Company had already established the pillboxes, and the Germans they didn't have any ammunition, and they didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do.
They told us how many tons of bombs were going to be dropped, and they said there won't be any resistance there at all. You can just walk in. But we found out real quick that was not the case.
Before we jumped, they had a big sand table, and they had told us what we were supposed to do. We never did it, never got near there. And then they had aerial photographs of they moved new guns in there, artillery pieces, and then we decided, they told us there's new, they showed us the photograph of those new artillery pieces they put in. And that's the one we were going to attack and destroy.
I was probably one of the few that landed at Omaha Beach with nothing but what I had on. No weapon, no clothes. They took the duffel bag and they piled them on somewhere, never saw them. And so we got up on Omaha Beach, and they loaded us on these trucks, and they took off. And we're traveling in the dark woods and so forth. Don't know where we're at. Well, we got attacked by a plane there. We knew we were pretty close to the front.
You know, as I was supposed to step out first, some guy stepped out in front of me, and the Germans shot him in the leg. And I jumped down in a ditch, and all the guys started throwing grenades. It was about about four of us guys together, and they started throwing grenades in that building, and the Germans took off, and then we decided to stay home, wait until daylight, so we know what to do.
My finance officer from H Company was on the beach. I don't know where he came from, but he saw us there, and he grabbed about 20, 30 of us fellas and said, "Okay, guys, let's get off the beach," you know. So we did. And behind the pillboxes was a minefield that we had to go through, and it was marked well enough that there weren't any casualties.
And then we ran into my colonel, battalion commander. Now they decided we're going to attack Hill 30 and defend it to prevent the Germans from going to the beaches.
I can remember a couple of artillery shots that came in, and they were duds. Had they exploded, we would have been gone. But we happened to get through the minefield without any trouble.
Most of Erie was sleeping when the news of the invasion debuted that Tuesday. June 6, Erie Daily Times headlines boldly informed residents, "Invasion is on." Most stores in downtown Erie closed. All Erie churches opened their doors for those who wanted to pray for American troops. Minutes felt like hours for some, waiting to hear news of loved ones. What would unfold in the next few days is victory.
What really won the war, that battle of the beaches, was the fortitude and determination of the private American soldier. Because the plan that the High Command had worked so hard on for weeks and weeks and months, didn't work. So we had to do it our own way. We did it, a lot of it was wrong, we did it wrong, but we stayed. And we made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of things wrong. When you go to our cemeteries today, you'll see there's a lot of Americans that never came home because we didn't do things right, but we stayed. And at the end of the day, the victory belonged to the Americans.